You.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I can ask the principals, but if there's people online waiting.
Yeah, I think people are waiting. We're gonna stream it tonight. At least what I heard. So cool. We are ready when you are. Sure. Very official. Are we live? Where it go? Hello, thank you. It's kind of weird talking to like an empty audience,
Right.
Right.
Or the ones we already know.
But thank you for coming to the Parent and Community Engagement Committee meeting. I'm really excited to get this presentation started and figure out new paths and opportunities for engaging with parents with the school. So without further ado, Miss Lee will kind of lead us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a quick little agenda here to just share with you what our goals are for our session this afternoon. And that includes, of course, we have a QR code for those individuals that are in person with us. If you'll just go ahead and scan and sign in with us with the QR code, we'll pass that around the room. And with our formal introductions, we have Ms. Barbara Hand with us, and we have our speaker, and we have Mr. Jim Kelly Aris, who serves as our EL coordinator, and we also have our co-superintendent with us, and that's Mr. Alex Akshaw. And so we will go ahead and get started. We will also be reviewing some of our existing communications channels. And then we will have a presentation by Miss Amy Serrano with Parent Square. Followed by that, our audience will ask questions, and then we will do a little short assessment, and we will then adjourn our meeting. Our goal for why we're here and what we're doing, our primary goal is to maximize exposure in a crowded digital world. We want to maximize our exposure. And there are a couple of ways that we're looking to improve this and to do this. And that is enhancing clarity, making sure everything is concise, increasing the interactivity and our engagement. We know that this is an area that we can grow in, and so that's our goal for the upcoming year. We also want to optimize our multiple platforms, and we'll look at those this afternoon as well. And then we want to be smart, and we want to leverage the data and the analytics. And then we want to prioritize the personalization and the relevance. We want to understand what we're doing and also why we're doing what we're doing. An interesting statistic that I came across included, we have currently in Illinois, there are about 23% of Illinois 4.884 million households speak a language other than English at home. So we know that these communities are growing, and it is in our best interest to make sure that we're using strategies that will bridge these gaps. And our entire goal is to look at ways we can improve the communications, particularly with our students and our parents. One of the things, if you are not aware of this particular demographic with our students that we serve, we have a little bit less than 4,500 students, but of that population, 60% of our students are Hispanic. And so with that number, we really have to look at ways of how we can make sure that we're meeting the needs of our families. And so I want us to just really look at that number just for a moment. African American is 36%, and white is 3%, and then Indian is really our Indian American and Asian Pacific. Those are at 0 and almost 1%. So we have some work to do. As we start this session, I will talk about and share with you the communications that we're currently using. And this, I'll just start with our main two, which is Power School and also Schoology. And I really want to make sure parents understand those distinct differences. When we think in terms of Power School, I use the acronym of the BAG. Power School holds our behavior records, attendance records, and grades. And it is our official record keeper of our student information system. And at the beginning of the year, I heard some people say, well, I have Power School, so we don't need Schoology. Power School, again, is our student information system. Think in terms of that as our the permanent grade of records, period. Behavior, attendance, and grades. Schoology, on the other hand, serves as our learning management system. And it's more actually live. That's where you can access student courses, assignments, school calendars, daily attendance, and also other parent resources. For both of these platforms, parents also have a parent access code. So parents can also be very active with their students. In terms of other platforms that we're using, in terms of communications, certainly we have our Ring Central, which is of course our telephone system, which is a new system that we're using. We have a lot of areas to grow there because the Ring Central system really offers a lot to us. We certainly communicate via Teams through Microsoft and also through Schoology again. If we have even announcements, instructors can also send announcements through Schoology. And of course, our email, Microsoft 365. And then we certainly utilize our school website. And then we have our monthly district newsletter that we're also using. And then currently we're using Blackboard. And then in terms of our social media, we're using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our YouTubes. So this just includes just a few. We also plan to try to level the playing field a bit. For our next school year, we will have Pocket Talk Plus voice translators. They will be in all 3 buildings. We are going to give these to specific groups, and those specific groups will include our nurses that may be one-on-one with our students, also security. Our parent coordinators will receive them, as well as office staff and our technology staff. Oftentimes, many students may have problems with their laptops, and they may come into our technology areas, and we want our staff to be able to communicate with those students one-on-one. So the actual Pocket Talk translators are here, but we will be rolling those out next year, and we're really excited about that. And so that's just been wonderful. In terms of our Ring Central, I went back and I looked at our usage, and as I mentioned, areas of growth. In terms of enabled phone users, we have about 441 users. And this is looking at from the beginning of this year with our Ring Central system up until April 30th. The number of calls, more than 70,000. The total calls per minute listed here. Just some really good data. There are a number of things that we can do with Ring Central. We can do video conferencing. We can do. Actually all of our teachers with this Ring Central telephone system. They have their own telephone numbers. So if a teacher wanted to text a parent, they would not have to give their personal number. They have a Ring Central number that they can utilize that's already been established. So that's there as well. Teams is also a part of this. They have a lot of different languages and everything else. I want to go back just a bit and tell you about two other distinctions here. With Power School, in terms of our communications, our teachers are able to go into Power School and retrieve parent information if they need to contact a parent. But they're not able to talk directly to that parent. Otherwise, they'll be using perhaps their personal information and personal telephone calls to work with parents with this system. They can also communicate through Schoology as well with our teachers. Okay. When we think in terms of parent-teacher conferences and making sure we can get people in our buildings and we can have twofold conversations, that's where I think tonight this presentation will lead us and will really be a significant game changer in terms of communications. A lot of what I've shared with you tonight, with a lot of the different systems, a lot of those systems are standalones. And so what we want to get to a total system whereby we can 100% communicate with our parents, our teachers feel comfortable. Even that number that they're going to get from Ring Central, that number will still ring to a 4-digit desk number. So the privacies and all of those built-ins are there. So we have the telephone system in place. But what we're gleaming to do, we have our own separate newsletter, and we have other things. I want Christy, and I shared with Christy prior to the meeting, I want Christy, if you would just come up and add something in the capacity. Christy Vanderbrook serves as our Director of Public Relations, and I asked Christy if she would come and just share a few words with you as it relates to our communications. And if you'll come up now, that would be super.
Alrighty, hello everyone in attendance and everyone watching at home. I just wanted to touch base, as Ms. Lieb mentioned, on the different platforms we use to communicate with parents. Currently we use Blackboard messaging, which allows us to send emails, phone calls, text messages. I actually just checked our last message we sent out, and our email and our text rate is not as successful as I would like it to be. Currently, right now, our most recent message had a, let's see here, an email delivery rate of 77% complete. The rest either didn't have email addresses on file, invalid email addresses. They were just completely blocked entirely by the email system that we were trying to send to. And text messages is a little bit worse. We only get about a 42% success rate on text messages received. I also can say from a user stance, and I think other people can too attest to it, it's not very user-friendly on the internal aspect of sending communications out. We have a lot of components that we have to use from various other sources in order to send a successful completed message. One of the things I liked with Parent Square, it has a lot of different tools already built into it, translation services. It's much more user-friendly. You can assign roles to people who send internally to a variety of different groups. You can create different groups. That's one of the difficulties with Blackboard right now. It's hard to create specified groups if we need to reach certain students or groups of students. It can be a little bit difficult to communicate to those specific students. The other components, as far as notes I had taken from our meeting with our Parent Square representative that I thought would best be utilized for our district, was it combines the usage of different media release, field trip, event, and I'm sure other people will touch on this, but these are just things that I took away from the meeting that we had that I think from my communication standpoint would streamline and unify our communications to our parents, our students, and our families. Is there anything else, Ms. Lee, that you want me to touch base on? Okay, great. Thank you, appreciate it.
At this time, we're going to pause and we're going to have our presenter to come up, Miss Amy Serrano, and she is with Parent Square. If you'll notice, for those individuals that have joined us, after Ms. Serrano's presentation, you will have an opportunity to have an interactive session with questions and answers. So we'll follow in that order.
Okay. Alright, let's make this a little bigger. It's just a little, right? Sorry.
You'll sign in for me. Sure. Just the top one. You'll sign in. If you sign in. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, my touchpad's finicky, so I don't know. Make it not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you. Okay, thanks for your patience, guys. We're gonna try and make this where. Maybe it's not me. Is it the HDMI? Maybe that's making it so small.
Yeah, it's just like
Anyway. There we go.
Patience is a virtue. Thanks for everybody out there, and thanks for everybody attending. Okay, so, and I appreciate, let's go here, kind of the introduction and setting the stage in Parent Square, because it does sound like the district, in conversations that we had, there's a ton of tools out there for communication, and it's tough for the district to support those, but this is all about parents, right? It is really hard to ask parents to use this app, and then this application, and then download this. So that's where we're trying to make it easier on you guys, that you can go to one place for the majority of your communication. But when we say a lot of communication, you know, that's our speak, but for you guys as parents, it's like, okay, well, what does she mean? Think about those alerts that you get when there's a snow day, or there's an evacuation drill, or you know, your attendance alerts, or the bus is broken down and the district needs to tell you. Those are part of Parent Square, so one place. But then also when the teacher needs to reach out to you and say, hey, your son's doing phenomenally in this class, I just want to share information, that's Parent Square. Also the ability to sign up for events, whether it's a school-hosted event, classroom event, a parent-teacher conference, an athletic event. So instead of having to go to Sign Up Genius and the teacher's email or find something on the district website, you can just go to Parent Square, okay? And for our ELL families, I think it's important to stress, you know, All means all. It means all. So we translate automatically into 133 languages. So as a Spanish-speaking parent, that communication I'm going to get is automatically translated. If I'm speaking Portuguese or Arabic, automatically translated. And that's because in Power School, remember one of those key components that Ms. Lee talked about that was important, kind of your source of all truth of your data and even your state reporting? It has your home language designation. So we're going to ingest that so that you get it in your home language, okay? The other thing I'll say here, you know, I might be an app girl. You might prefer email. You might prefer text. Parent Square, that's awesome. You can choose whatever you prefer. We don't force you to download an app. We don't force you to use email. If you prefer text, that's fine. So you choose the modality that works best for you, your husband, or your partner. It might be something else, but we want to let you have that choice and not force you into using an app or text or email, okay? So I could probably talk forever, but we're limited here today. So, let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm logged into Parent Square, and I'll just give kind of a teeny overview of all those things we were talking about. I am logged in here as a parent, and you'll see right down the middle is like a feed. And we wanted it to look like social media, like Instagram and Facebook, right? Because we all know how to use Instagram and Facebook without training. But here's where the district can feed you information, like the district's newsletter. Or maybe they have some information going on in the library about a book fair. Or maybe the performing arts group is having a performance that they want you to attend. But again, you didn't have to go search for all this. It was fed to you. And I know there are a lot of schools in the district, so you're only going to get the information that's tied to where your kid's at school and the district communication. It's not overwhelming you with all those other classrooms and schools that your kids aren't participating in. And for you wonderful people that are involved in this committee, think about they could share the notes. They could share the invitation to this particular event, and it would come right through in Parent Square. Okay. The other thing, you know, when you get these things, if your parent has a lot of kids or a lot going on, it can be over. It's like, hey, can I just add this to my personal calendar immediately so it goes right there for you? Or I need to RSVP so we know how many people to come. I can RSVP. And even if it's some sort of an event that the district, classroom, or the school is hosting, it's, well, I want to sign up to bring things, or I want to volunteer to help out the district, but I don't want to go to another app and have to do that. I just want to do it in Parent Square. Okay. The only other piece I'll talk about too are parent-teacher conferences. So, you know when the district always sends things and they say, hey, come, and we need you to do this, you know, pick up your Chromebook, or parent-teacher conferences, all of that, again, can be coordinated in Parent Square. Okay? So again, fed to you. You don't have to go search for it. I'm seeing the whole everything I'm involved in, but I can also drill in. So let's say my kid's on the chess team or on the football team, or I'm involved with the PTO. I can always just click and drill into those things as well. Okay? You can see all your calendars for all those things you're involved in one place. School, the classroom, the sports, the athletics, those things you're interested in, you can see them in one place. Okay? I think I'm getting close to time, so I want to honor your time. Okay. Okay. The only other one, there's a lot of other functionality the district wants to take advantage of because, again, remember how Ms. Lee started perfectly talking about all these different tools, consolidating, but really the one that's going to make the biggest impact on student outcomes and student achievement, right? All the research says if you can get parents involved, it's going to move the needle on student outcomes, right? It's a little tougher than what, right? That's the challenge. But this direct two-way communication is what is so critical. So your teachers could reach out, or your coaches, or your club leaders, or whomever, they can directly reach out to a parent and have that dialogue back and forth. Now, when the teacher sends it in English, that Spanish-speaking family is going to get it in Spanish. They're going to respond in Spanish. It's going to come back to the teacher in English. You can include videos, images, links, and then all of this is archived too. So if you're ever like, hey, I want to go back to that conversation and revisit it, you have a whole archive of that, okay? This is the really big piece, getting parents involved. And it could be groups of parents, or in this case, maybe my kid receives some services from the counselor for college and career planning. We can add the counselor right here to that conversation. So it's like a group text, right? Mm-hmm. We're all used to that, and that's what we wanted to build on. Okay. Helpful? Very helpful? Okay. The only one I'll also mention, and districts have been doing it forever, but again, sticking with that theme of consolidating. So when there's a snow day, or when there's football practice is running late, or bus 23 has broken down. As a parent, I don't want to have to rely on another app. All of that can be done in Parent Square too. So like those critical safety alerts, or even your kid's missing a lot of school and we need to elevate that can all be done in Parent Square. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And just before I do, I've shown the interface here. Now imagine if I was a Spanish-speaking parent. This is exactly, take a minute, this is exactly then what it's gonna look like for them. Automatically converted into Spanish, Portuguese, all the different 133 languages, but same on my app. If you want to use the app, that's fine. Again, all going to translate and have a whole different interface. Okay. That was what I was going to share, but I think at the end or now, Q&A, whatever. I don't know how to get Q&A out there, but yeah.
Ms. Lee mentioned as I was walking in that there was a capability of messaging specific groups, or I think it was maybe Christy or Ms. Vanderbrook. They mentioned that there was a capability so teachers, anyone with access would be able to create groups and.
Yeah, and for you out there, I don't know if you can hear, it was how do we have groups? And a lot of the groups the district is in Power School. Remember, that's kind of your source of truth and your rosters in your classrooms. Those will come over every night, so those groups. But there's a lot of cases like the football team, or I'm a teacher and I'm working with a specific group of kids on maybe a certain area. You can have a code. You could share the code, and those kids or parents can click on that code and join that group. So try and make it easier. And then to even get more in the weeds, you could even just handpick those kids in the system and make your own group. So,
and then you can name it and save it, right?
Oh yeah,
yep.
You can name it and save it. You can even make it where people come in and out. You know, I joined the football team, I changed my mind. So they can go back and forth. One thing I was remiss, and I'm glad you brought it up, I keep talking about parents, but there is an app specifically for students. It's called Student Square. It does the exact same thing that I'm showing, but we named it Parent Square and we couldn't figure out why high school kids wouldn't download it. Well, duh, it's Parent Square. Once we called it Student Square, they downloaded it like crazy. So kids, but instead of a coach or a teacher using their personal cell phone number, now it's all done in Parent Square. So protecting the student and protecting the teacher. Oopsie. And then with Student Square, it can be, if the district has assigned emails, we can do it that way. If the student wants to do an app, that's fine. And if they even want to go in and add their personal cell phone number, they can do text too. So whatever they do. Yeah.
How about another question?
Good.
So this is designed to be interactive, just like social media. So then parents are able to comment to different posts then, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you can turn comments on or off. Because it's a great way of two-way communication, but there might be some where the district's like, I don't want to turn on comments. This is more of kind of an announcement, so you have that flexibility.
Okay,
But
and
two-way,
with that,
yeah, that's good.
with that two-way, are we able to also, hate to use the word police, but restrict certain words to make sure that it's a positive experience for people when they are able to communicate?
No, but you can see who posted it. You can delete the comment. You could cut them off. I mean, you probably don't want to. You probably want to have more of a conversation with them. Yeah. But yeah, with comments, they can comment in a moment. Yeah.
But you'll know who it is, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, everybody. Well, and let me say that too on comments. You can make it where the whole world could see them, or anybody involved in the post. Or you could say, you know what? I only want the district admin and the person that posted to see the comments. So it's still two-way, but it's not to the whole group that's involved in that post. That would be a limitation there that you could set. Good. Put it
And to that point, will you have moderators, just like
Yeah.
she's seen?
That was gonna be my next
Live
question.
moderators?
Yeah, a lot of time the district are moderators where they're because they can see all the posts, or you turn on the comments and you say, okay, the person that made the post can see those comments as well as the admin. Yeah, you can always delete comments as an admin.
So I have sorry, did you have another question, Eileen?
No.
Okay. So I have a couple questions, right? Because I think one of the big concerns is, here's another new shiny thing, right? We've got Schoology, we've got Power School, we've got all these things. How does this integrate then with Power School? And I understand Power School is like our big, right, hard data. But then with Schoology, right, because our teachers are using Schoology to communicate, will this render Schoology obsolete? Does this work with it? And then do teachers have options? Some use Parent Square, some use Schoology, where that I think is unacceptable, right? We pick one and we use one because otherwise.
I think for
So
us,
how does that-
in terms of Schoology is primarily utilized as our learning management system. So that's where all coursework is. And so if a teacher and a parent wanted to communicate, the limitations come with Schoology in that Schoology does not have those translations.
Right.
So they would be there with Schoology, with our learning management system, and of course Power School, our SIS system. So,
And is there the option and availability to kind of like link this through, right? So like I'm having a conversation with a teacher on Parent Square, and the teacher is referencing, oh, the homework assignments from last week and last week and last week. Is that parent now going to have to open Schoology, then dig through the assignments, or is there a way to integrate Schoology to Parent Square where
Sure.
they could share links within? And
Great question. I'm gonna go back to English, okay? You see me okay with me? But yeah, when it's gonna take a second here. When I create this new message, when I type that student right here, I could include links. So it could be a link to a Schoology lesson that, hey, your student's missing these 5 assignments. You can click there. A little more detail on this is why it's impacting your student's performance and the long-term goals. So a little bit more elaborate. But also here, you can always link to other things too. Because sometimes as a parent, it's like, I gotta go here and here and here, and then like, oh, I forgot what the login is. So you can absolutely have links right here in Parent Square. Yeah. And when parents,
that would be, because then you
Square.
have one interface where you can
Yeah.
access.
And this they're called single sign-on. So it's the same username and password for Power School and Parent Square. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I have a question.
Yeah. Fantastic.
For this district, we don't really receive any messages from teachers. Well, I don't. He does well, but there's really no communication, so.
And I think that's what the district is looking for, a way to unify that communication and set some policies and parameters around it, but it's getting a platform in place that meets parents' needs first. You don't ever want to set a communication policy, right? And then you don't
Right.
have the way to implement it. So I think that was the goal today.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have school. I have Schoology on my phone. I have Power School, but nothing. I mean, you don't hear anything from the teachers at all.
Yeah. I think they're trying to.
and think in terms of the teachers again, they may be just using the Schoology as part of their lessons and as the learning management system to deliver their coursework. Okay?
I know that.
And so they may not be totally engaged with it in terms of communicating with the parent. They may not be at that point yet. But with this,
Yeah?
well,
Okay.
if they're not communicating, I
You're
mean,
over what?
let me say this in terms of usage, because Schoology, and I will have to say this, Schoology is being used this year with Fidelity. It was introduced last year, but it was kind of still optional. So teachers now are really using it in terms of our learning management system. So we do have some areas to grow in there with our teachers communicating. So I hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
And I'll say too, I think we've definitely recognized that that's a common theme is the communication piece, right? Something that we know is an area, and something working with Ms. Barbahan, who leads this community and committee here, that going down this path was I think first we went down this was with our parent conferences, right? And trying to find a way to really maximize on that, and it kind of snowballed, and Ms. Lee got involved, and we came across this platform, and it's something that's growing, but that moving even to online registration, right? Because something, and I have my parent coordinators right here, that are constantly looking for ways to make sure that our emails and phone numbers that we have on file are accurate and correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we're finding, again, even a shortcoming. So moving to online registration and pushing to that way to make sure that we have emails, make sure that we have phone numbers, and trying to find ways to audit that. And then with Parent Square, this way to make sure that those communication pieces are connected there, and then bringing everything together, I guess, is the best way I can word it, because what we currently have with Blackboard and our way to send communications, there's some shortcomings with that. And Blackboard we're going to keep because that's kind of our website, but the communication piece is really where we see an area for improvement there. So this is, again, we're committed to anything, but we need your feedback to see if this is going to be something that can be supportive, so we can leverage our teachers and work with them and say, hey, this is something our parents need. This is now an easy way to set up a group. Hey, we've got an upcoming test. Make sure you study. Here's the study guide, or here's the link to that Schoology page, and finding easy ways to make it easy for them and easy for you at home.
They communicate more with the kids than they do with us. They send them emails. They tell them what's happening. Well, he tells me everything, so that's how I know. But it's maybe the parents don't have that. But I just don't hear anything from the teachers ever. And I'm an involved parent, very. So, and then like the online thing, how's that going? Because I went on there, I haven't registered him yet, because I think you guys asking for a lot of information online that we're gonna have to upload. Is it safe to upload all our private stuff?
Yes, ma'am. Everything is secure. Working closely with our IT director to ensure that it is all safe. And this is all stuff. There's no new information being asked. It's all the same. It's all the same pieces as far as the registration is concerned. But yeah, now uploading it to our secure platform rather than like giving the paper copies to the individual.
And then once they're in the system, then it's a little easier, right?
Yeah, we're tracking.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's, I would say, in all honesty, a little slower than we want. We've got maybe district-wide around 100 parents that have gone in and completed everything, all of the pieces. So working on getting that communication out, right, and ensuring that parents are going in and completing all of that. So yeah, a little slower, but it's going and it's working. We've got some great feedback so far, just to make sure that everything is optimized and working as it should.
Okay. Yeah, I went on it. I just didn't do it all I'm getting Thank you.
Did you have another question?
I did. Last question, I'll try. Ms. Lee did mention Pocket, the Pocket PAL or the Pocket Translator.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, one of the issues that we've discussed with Blackboard is that the translations are off oftentimes, and it's offensive to some, when they read and it's not reading the way it's supposed to. So how accurate would the translation be on this website?
Okay, really good question. So, and I'm not an expert on Blackboard, but there's two types of translation with Google. Regular Google, like we all use on our phone, but then there's Google Neural Translate. So you have to kind of pay an arm and a leg as a vendor for that. So that's the one that we use. But also in ours, and again, I could be wrong about Blackboard, so I don't think you're able to edit. You just send out the message and it translates. Here, all of our
You can edit.
messages, oh, you can.
Yeah, what we usually do, because it's so wonky,
Flyer.
but it's double work. So then I have to have a person who speaks Spanish come in and reread it, you know what I mean, to make sure that, or just proofread so that it's not going out with inaccurate
I'm not sure if
information.
they're using Neural Translate. You should double check because
I don't think.
they should.
I doubt
Okay,
it.
that could be it. We do have the edit piece, so if you want another set of eyes on it. Another thing is we're adding in AI, which I know AI, right, makes me nervous as a parent. But it's an AI to look at, are you using colloquialisms? Are you using idioms? Are you using acronyms? Because in education, right, we got acronyms for everything. So it's only to look at that. It's not to, and then to look at the readability level of what you're writing, because, right, are you writing it at a level way up here where your audience maybe is more?
No, we try to use very simple language. It's more often than not. And we ask parents a lot, like, what was the communication like? And that's probably the number one complaint that we receive, which is why we have a translator look it over now to make sure.
Yeah.
And it's small, like Christy would tell you, you only get so many characters, so you have to try to put as much as you can in short terms.
Yeah, and
into
think
the
about your
message.
post could be longer because it could be a classroom announcement, it could be talking about an event, but yeah, look at the Neural Translate versus the regular. That would be mine. Dig into that. The only thing I'll touch base too, because Ms. Lee, you started out, you can put all these great things in place, but are you reaching all of your parent, right? All means not just translation, but are we engaging with them? So we want to help you. Your data's coming in from PowerSchool to Parent Square every night. So your teachers don't have to create their classes and create all these people. But we'll tell you, hey, you're not contacting 100% of your families, and here's why. You don't have the right email or the cell phone number. You gotta track them down and get the right one. Or you have all these kids, but you don't have any contacts, families tied to them. So we'll tell you, we want to make it actionable here exactly why you're not at 100%. And it'll drive you nuts because you'll get there and you're like, yay, and you'll probably talk about it in this committee, and then it'll drop. And it's because a parent gets a new cell phone, or they get a new job and they get a new email and they don't update PowerSchool. If you'll allow it, we want, again, make it easy for you. They can update their contact information in Parent Square, and then we'll feed it back to you. So try to give them both avenues, right, to get to 100%, because nobody wants to put all this effort in, and you're creating all these new policies, right, but you're not reaching 100%. So hopefully that actionable part will help you with that. All means all. All means all.
Well, and I think, when this committee started meeting, one of the first meetings we talked about what's going well with the district and what things we need improvement on. And I think every person in that room, said communication. The communication piece is just not where it should be. And it's not because of the fault of anybody not trying to communicate, but it's just we're missing, right? Mm-hmm. Signals are crossing and we're not reaching every parent. We're not reaching every family. I'm trying to find ways and avenues and tools and resources that can help us get there, right? And try to get to that next, at least we reach everybody, right? And now we know, and then that we can pull different pieces, and now we have data. I mean, I don't think Blackboard gives you data besides how many failures it gives,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
And I mean, if we're only hitting 40% on our text messages that go out, that's a really,
and that's
really
wonky. It could be 80% one day, the next day 40.
I mean, that's low. That's incredibly low. So having something a little bit more sophisticated, and AI doesn't have to be scary. It really is the way of the future. We have to utilize it and kind of figure out how to integrate it with our current systems to be able to join the future, right, and be part of the future. So I think this is a really great kind of cumulative program that could really impact our communication. And just, I have another question as well for you. Is there a pilot option? So over the summer, could a small group, like our parent coordinators and maybe, 10 or 15 parents who would sign up for a pilot kind of test it out, right? The people that come to these meetings, we could be like the little guinea pigs over the summer, and
I have a whole sandbox too. I can
Yeah,
throw you
we
in
could-
the sandbox.
because we
I
could
just
play in
need
the
your email and
sandbox,
you guys
and
can
then we
interact
can get,
with each
do
other.
you like the way it, if let's say you pick app and I pick email, and we can compare and contrast and see how those options. So I would be really interested to see like a test pilot group come out of.
I can throw you
This
guys
as
in the
well.
sandbox, and you can't break it. And it would just be you guys interacting with you wouldn't be with all the
Right.
other people out in the
And it
world.
wouldn't be live, it's all just a test
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Happy to do that.
So I had a question too.
Yeah.
To your point, the superintendent, will there be a mandate to the teachers to use this to communicate to parents? Like, you have to enforce. You can always create dialogue that says, "Oh, do this," but how do you enforce it and make sure that it's happening? Because you can go and spend money and time on a product, and then it's not utilized.
Yeah, no, that's a very great question. So there are some things contractually with our collective bargaining agreement around updating grades and communication, but it's vague, right? There's nothing specific saying, you need to enter in this many assignments, or you need to send this many communication pieces out. So a piece is tough, and so I hear what you're saying, because we as a district invest in this and then get the same result, right? Where that isn't there. So trying to find ways, but that accountability piece is tough on the teacher piece. So I'll be honest, just because we can't introduce any mandate that we can recommend and strongly recommend. So I think that before we dive in and make this decision, right, we've got to find ways in working with our board and working with our school administration to kind of see what that looks like, so we don't fall into the same trap, right, and repeating the same cycle.
Collecting things that
Yeah.
don't necessarily.
Right, because from my stance, I see some great work done by Ms. Vandenbroek, at the high level of the district level, and trying to collect all of these pieces from the principals, from our parent coordinators, from our teachers and our school sponsors, and it's challenging at times, or someone sends something out and it doesn't come through our office, so we're not able to communicate that on a broader level. The scope is very narrow. So that for me is one of the pieces that I see that is neat about this tool, that it seems that it's going to help that, so we can get these communications out. We can ensure that I live by my calendar. Man, everything, if it ain't on my calendar, forget it. It ain't happening. And I know for our principals, that's a huge piece for them, is getting it onto their master calendar. Well, now we're going to have the master calendar of the master calendar, and getting the 3 schools, the district events, because I think that's really going to help. But to your point, and going back to it, I think that we have to work with our teachers, work with our union, to really stress how important this is for our parents. And I'll say, back to the point, I've got a couple kids, I've got a 7th grader and a 4th grader, where I know I don't get a whole lot of communication unless I'm the one kind of pushing out. And I always get the response, well, we're trying to help them become young adults and advocate for themselves. And that's good, but I can't wait to hear that I've got 10 missing assignments for my kid after the 11th is hit. I've got to know. I want to know right away if that after the first one is. So, the alert piece too. I want to look into that to see if there's better ways to kind of utilize that on the parent side. Just to, you don't want it to be about the bad thing, but about the good things too. So, we've got to work with our union. I think they're going to be receptive to that too. That's something that we're working very hard on, is to strengthen that connection with our teachers. And I think if it's something that we're hearing that the parents are absolutely needing at home, that we've got to work with them to find a way.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I have a question. Just like with Schoology and Power School, they'll put stuff in Schoology, but Power School is not updated. Now, shouldn't they be doing it at the same time? I never understood that. You'll see Power School got all these no grades in it. Then Schoology got all the grades over there.
Yeah.
Why isn't it in Power School? And most parents don't have both. I just have to have both. But most parents don't. They usually have Power School, and you will see no grades in there. And then my son will be emailing his teachers, can you upgrade it? Can you put the grades in there?
And keep in mind with Schoology,
Uh-huh.
that's going to be in real time.
Right.
Okay, so in Power School, that's our official record keeping system. So it's not going to be as accurate.
Why do we have?
Pardon me?
Why do we have?
We have two because they sync. Okay, think about the a permanent record. Think about
They have three, but.
your permanent school record. So you remember when we were growing up, we had our permanent school records that were just in one place.
Right.
And then for each semester, we had our regular grades of what we were doing. Think about Power School like that. Once our teachers are finished, now they should be syncing in Power School and Schoology. They do sync nightly, but it just depends on how the teacher has things set up. But for in real life time, if you want to keep up accurately, you want to be in Schoology, because that's the actual live semester. The permanent student information system, we think about that as bad behavior, attendance, and grades. That's a student's permanent record that's over there in Power School. Okay? So that's why sometimes they may not, to answer your question. I hope I answered it for you.
And I'll just, as a parent, not this year, but last year, I always thought of Schoology as like my micromanager, right? Because that's where I would go and micromanage his day or
That's
his
it.
week and his assignments. At Power School, I would really only go in, monthly or
Yes.
quarterly, because that's like the end-all be-all grade, right? Because I knew if I wanted to know what's happening right now in every class,
In real time.
Schoology's where it's at.
But every
But if
parent don't have.
Right.
Well,
And I
that's
think-
something.
And I think
but-
that's part of the.
okay, and that's
that's
some
like
work.
what we talked
That's
about
some work
too.
that we've got to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because in both of those systems, parents have access for both.
Yes.
So we have to do our job in making sure that our parents are aware.
Yeah. And we're not gonna put it all on the teachers, because it's still a parent's responsibility to keep their phone numbers and their emails and everything up to date so they can receive this information.
Right.
So,
And what we've been trying to do, I know this past year, when we had our freshman orientations and students that were coming, I participated in the 3 orientations, and I shared with parents, told them what those.
He did.
Okay, so you remember me. Okay, so that's one way we know that our parents are really engaged during those freshman orientation meetings. And so that's a way to put it up there and explain it to them, and to also encourage them to go ahead and create your.
I think you touched on something that I missed, and I owe it to you. You know, with Schoology, you have to create a username and password.
Yes.
You got to create a username and password for Power School. Guess what? With Parent Square, when the district hits launch, your parents are already in. They're in automatically. They don't have to create a username and password to get communication. They're automatically going to get. Now, to get a little more deeper and some of them more secure, we need them to have a username and password. But all of you are very involved. You wouldn't be here in this meeting, but maybe other parents have a couple jobs and they struggle with the English language, right? Or they're intimidated. Think about, they're going to be automatically getting this communication about maybe a low grade or practice being canceled or an event at the school without having that username and password. They automatically get it. So trying to maybe help them a little more, level it. I miss that part, but I think it's absolutely critical. They don't have to have a username and password to be getting this communication from parents. Yeah, is that?
One last question for all this time.
Never, never.
So with all of the parents automatically having access, because our district is 3 buildings, if there's a parent that has a West kid and a PMSA kid, they can still,
They'll get both.
will it be like a tab, or will they just see everything on one big feed?
No, yeah, they'll be able to see everything in their feed, and then over here where the drop down where I could drill in. Oh, look, she already has it on her app. She's a parent
Right, so then it would
She's a
just
parent
switch you
script.
based of like, so
Yeah.
like this is my son's school. And it treats it like a social media feed, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah, so you could just drill in and say, oh wait, I know my son's struggling in algebra too, and I want to go right to that classroom. You could do that, but then it's also in your feed being fed to you too.
Like it has the breakdown
Great
of their
question.
classes.
And
And then it's
what
got
does,
like a main feed where you'll see everything at once.
If we were to move forward, I know we talked about this sandbox piece, but going back to the teacher utilization piece, what kind of professional development is offered for Parent Square here?
Sure, and I was just going to plug in my app too so that you guys could see the app in a second. Remember when I started the conversation, I said, hey, some people are app people and some are text people and some are email people. We want to do the same for your teachers because some prefer to learn this way versus that way. So all different modalities, they can join webinars where they're live training, ask questions, engage, or some would prefer, I just want to go through a course at my own pace, right? Others, I might just watch a video. I just want to use that one function. Can I watch a 4-minute video, a 3-minute video on how to do that? So all those different, and they're all included. They're not additional charge for you.
Is that something that at our district level that we can, track and monitor? Mr. Calieris did this 4-minute video. Miss Vandenbroek did the course series. Can we collect any information?
There's certificates for that, and we can provide you with those. Also, I'm like, where is my mouse here? You can also dig into usage in the system, so you can see, okay, who's posting a lot, who's not, because that's a good PD. Maybe it's a new teacher, right? New to teaching, a little overwhelmed, so let's partner them with a veteran, so you have all that data too. Yeah. And this is what it looks like on the app. You were just saying, hey, if I wanted to hop from school to school, I could absolutely do that. Let's even say that I'm a Spanish-speaking parent. We're just going to change it to Spanish so that you can see here's all that communication for Spanish-speaking families. Okay. We're going to go back to because I speak English. But just like you saw here, like I was showing on the web interface, this is what it looks like on the app. So I can interact with these. Oh, there was that thing about the winter festival, and I know the teacher, I wanted to add it to my personal calendar, but she was asking for items for that wish list. I could sign up right here. I could volunteer right here. Wow. But if I don't want to use the app, right, I could also get all my communication just as a text. So honoring how you guys, what works best for you, right? But here are the alerts. Here are those notifications. In this case, I have a password, so it's going to take me right in. But if I didn't, I'd just see it open up in a new browser, and I could see that communication.
And parents can, this is what I do with mine, parents can customize, like if you want to get an instant text message right away, so you look at it quick. So like sometimes I get 3 or 4 messages from my son's school as a text message, but then it also sends you have a customization to send like a digest email later on that'll get sent out at like 6 p.m. and like, oh yeah, let me look back at that, and it'll like group everything that was sent that day. So if you kind of check it real quick throughout the day as an instant thing, or you can prefer to have it as like a digest where it just accumulates as an email, which is a nice thing.
Yeah. We're at work all day, right? Nobody. I'm not time to get a whole bunch of, can I just get it at 6 o'clock when I'm at home? Hopefully with a glass of wine.
Are there options then to have like quiet time? So I'm thinking like of our teachers, right? If they're in the middle of class, they don't want their phone ding, ding, ding. 8 parents are emailing them, right? So they could set up kind of like quiet time or office hours, and then that might help parents understand like they can't, you know, the teacher can't instantly respond to you, but they have a planning period, or they have, you know, that other built-in time to kind of show like, look, they're in the classroom.
Yeah, and I don't want to stand here and be like, oh, it's a unicorn, it's puppies and kittens, right? But on the office hours, absolutely you can set it up. But a parent could still say, oh,
Right.
I see that it's office hours, but guess what? I'm still sending it.
Right, which is fine,
So-
right? But then they would see like, okay, this teacher's in class. If it was an emergency, then would call the main office, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
But
there
all
would
the
still be
alerts,
build some
like
trust.
yeah, build some
Yeah.
trust and
snow day, evacuation drill, attendance alert, those go immediately. They are safety concerns, so they go immediately. But this other communication, yeah, you could digest at 6 o'clock, where you get it all at once, and you're ready to embrace it.
And really quick, this is more for like internal user standpoint. I think you said when we had talked about this, it integrates like Canva into it.
Yeah,
So if we created like flyers and posters, it integrates into it.
yeah. You know when people send you something and it's a whole bunch of words? You get through the first few sentences and you're like, okay, whatever, I'm done. So we encourage folks, bring video in, bring images in. People interact with that more and they gravitate to it. So there's a thing out called Canva that teachers use to develop their lessons and making them exciting, and we have a partnership with them. So there's a folder to help teachers make their post in Parent Square more engaging and engage with you. Awesome. You listen.
Try.
I had my very good. Oh, you have not asked a question. Let's go.
Such great questions have been asked. Parent Square, is it more, do you find more high schools use it, elementary, or is it?
That's a really good question. It would be interesting to look at our school usage, because you have more high school like classes than for elementary.
I mean, maybe purchase the program.
Yeah, no, it's kind of standard across. I think one of the thing is the district rollout, and you guys touched on that. You know, what do we highly encourage teachers to do? But the one thing on the app, it is the highest rated education app in the Apple Store and it's like a 4.6 rating. So it's really good, but your teachers will grab it because it's easy. It's an easy way to quick send off a message. But it's every teacher, K through 12. Yeah. The elementary, like K through 1, there's a program called Dojo that gives little links
Seesaw,
and bags.
Dojo.
Yeah. So sometimes K1, maybe not as much, because those parents are new to education and they're all excited. That's how we lies. We're like, just give me the information. So maybe K1 a little unique, but no, we don't really see a difference. That's a good question. I'll have to look at the data. If it doesn't support what I'm saying, I'll let you know. But for my districts, it's pretty standard. Good
Well,
question.
to that point, and I don't know if it would be useful for this group too, if there's surrounding schools.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we've got a good relationship with our surrounding schools. If there is someone close using it, if you have that list of kind of in the surrounding area, then we can give them a call and just kind of get feedback directly from someone who is a consumer and possibly even their why behind looking at it and what it's done for them, if that would be something for this committee to kind of consider.
Most people gravitate, and I think I shared some, but I'll go back through the list, especially for Illinois. The driving force we hear is unifying communication. We have too many apps and it's overwhelming, and the translation piece. We're not able to communicate with all of our families. Those are the big
I
ones.
think it really meets the equity. We're thinking in terms of equity. I think this is a system that really you know, it hits that mark for us very well.
It's a compliance issue that we've dealt with too, as far as sending information out in specific languages of our students. So this answers that question of compliance too.
Yeah, and automatically, you don't have to click, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this helpful for your committee? Kind of get you thinking about the next meeting and all your things to tackle?
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anybody else have questions?
I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for answering all our questions.
We wanted to keep our meeting, our time real short. And if you'll just complete maybe an exit ticket, at the end of every lesson, the teacher and me always want to know what was your takeaway. So I'll ask you if you'll just scan the little code at the bottom. And I just want to know 2 things you learned and maybe 1 thing you may have a wondering about.
I have one question that a parent just texted me.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Please.
She wants to know, will the app send notifications when things are posted like social media?
Oh,
That's a good question.
okay, I'm not sure if I understand, but I can say how we do it, and maybe you tell me if I hear it wrong. So you know when the district or the principal is creating a post, or even ELL director, they have the permission to post it in Parent Square, but it can also go directly to
At the
Facebook,
same time.
Twitter, and to your website.
Oh, nice.
So there's that consistency. Now, it wouldn't be for teachers to send like to their personal Twitter. Or it's more for administrators. But yeah, when you create a post, your audience, what you're saying, you could say, oh, and I also want to send it Facebook, Twitter, and or my website, a combination.
So like for you guys, we could
Yeah. Consistency in your
incorporate a role,
messaging.
like, to just this
Yeah.
page. So when you put communication out, you can, and that's what we've been missing this year. Is you know,
So
I've been
Mr.
the only one
Ashop,
posting on
talking
social
about kind
media,
of
so
like
I've
that
been wanting
pilot
to-
sandbox
like,
opportunity. I think
it's scary, but you'll get
if anybody's
but yeah.
interested in
So,
that,
and
I would
like
love
she said,
to
you
have
can
you
pick and choose
email
like
myself
everything
and
social
Mr.
media,
Ashop, and we can kind of compile, anybody watching on YouTube as well, just send me JBARBAHEN at pths209.org an email that you'd like to join a pilot, and kind of give this a tryout, or email Mr. Ashop or Mr. Pavone and let us know, and we'll kind of
it's easy to navigate.
gather a group of, and I think it'd be great to have some teachers volunteer as well, and just kind of get teachers, administrators, parents, and some students, just kind of
I think the high school
test it out.
uses it, so I'd be
Yes.
curious to know. I could reach out and ask them.
That was all I didn't have anything else for tonight, so
Because it's like my son is.
Anybody else have
so it's a
anything?
little bit, like,
any parent coordinator
I'm
announcements
thinking from it
while
from
we're
like
live?
an internal perspective.
No, look for us in your email and on your text. And if you haven't registered for school or summer school, it is live, it's open.
I'm waiting for the 8th grade diploma to
Exactly.
be in hand,
And I was
then
gonna say
I'm
that,
gonna
that's one
online
thing
register.
we're waiting
When did we find out about,
That would be-
we signed up for the
I'm
driver's
thinking,
ed, but we haven't heard
like I've been really focusing on like,
I will ask our district coordinator who's kind of leading that effort. His name's Mr. Tony Valente, to see when those communications are going out. And we do have a position kind of leading that effort too with driver's ed, Miss Paula Strowing. She's kind of coordinating those efforts too with driver's ed. So I can find out, and I'm pretty sure I have your email, but I'll write it down one more time just to make sure I got it, so we can get back to you on that. But yeah, I appreciate you plugging.
The lady who that called me, and I asked her about it, but she still hasn't gotten back to me about how are they gonna do it, because, you know, this will be his first year taking it. Are they gonna do the driving part as well, or will they have to do that when they come back to school? Because she was saying they have to send off the information to the Secretary of State, but I didn't get a full chest of it.
Okay, yeah, and we can talk too, but yeah, primarily there is both, right? We have the classroom portion
Both going on.
and
So
behind the
I signed him
wheel.
up for both sections, but does he need both sections? I'm not sure, but nobody's reached out to me.
Got it. I'll get back to you.
And I'll take her information.
Sure. Did you
I'll
have any
take
other
her information and I'll follow up with her. I'll ask Mr. Valente, Mr. Ashcroft, I'll get her information.
Miss Lee, did you have anything else for us for this
No,
evening?
no.
All right, then that's all for today. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Register
I'm so
online,
glad you
register
came.
online, register
Yeah.
online, register
Sign
online.
up for Power School.
Sign up for
Have a
Power
good
School.
evening.
Yeah, exactly. Sign up for Power School.
Sign up for Power School. Sign up for Power School.
Do we know?